Hello and welcome to the DCP Plus SideQuest podcast. This week we've made a promise. We're going to keep it light. We're going to keep it airy. Nothing but good news this week. That's all we're going to talk about. Nothing but good news.
Yep.
That's it. I'm just going to do it.
Okay. See you next week.
That's the first I heard about that. All right. GG's.
Oh, man. The last time this happened in the Bungie world, it was a rough podcast.
No doubt.
And,
Yeah.
you know, here we are again.
I feel like it always happens when I'm like talking about, let's get someone to come on the show from Bungie. And then something happens and I'm like, all right, we need to wait a while. Okay. Next time. And then I'm like, okay, how about now? Oh, oops. Well, never mind. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, stop doing that, Watts.
I'll stop.
There is going to be other talk, though. I'm really excited. I've been playing Shadow of the Erdtree. We'll talk about that later. Fran, you just finished Horizon Zero Dawn? No, sorry.
Forbidden West, Burning Shores, yeah. But also, I mean, it was the last week of Act 2 in Echo, so there's also that.
There we go.
Fran,
Myelin's
I've
back.
just noticed you've shaved your beard as well.
It's funny because, like, I don't really have a beard, I would say. It's always like 4 to 10 days of scruff.
Yeah.
And I just don't like a close shave. But I was like, you know what? I don't remember last time I did that. So let's try it out.
Because you're trying
Do
to
you
look,
ever
you're trying to
shave
look
with,
younger.
like, a
You
straight
already look like...
You have devastated
it.
Myelin since he found out your age.
Oh,
He is
maybe
in a
that's
panic.
why.
He's
Myelin-
freaking out.
Myelin had been grilling me on like age and all that. And now I've shaved. I've screwed him up even more. Yeah.
Was I the only one who didn't know that Fran was a vampire and immortal? Like,
A lot of people.
It's rocked my world.
Yeah. Dove blood. Bull semen. It's quite a regimen. Yeah.
No, taking notes. Gotta try that.
Yeah.
Finally got an excuse to. Just wanted one.
Great with whiskey.
Yeah,
that's
TrueVanguard's getting like whiskey channel
Yeah.
video ideas.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were we talking about?
That made me think of the blood and sand cocktail, and then you'd have the blood and semen cocktail. Anyway, we don't want that. Bull semen, to be clear.
Yes.
You have
As long
said
as
the
the
word
bull
semen
isn't
3
also
times in
related.
60 seconds.
That's true.
It's
Like on
normal
the
for
brain, you know?
bulls to do that, and got to have a
It's a
supply.
natural thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow,
just
it's
all
good to see
brought
you.
on our,
We saw you during the charity stream, but this is the first time you've been on the podcast in a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was gone last week.
Because people keep
Myelin.
harassing me. When you back on? When you back on? When you back on? Look. It's been hard to schedule the DCP just because I'm streaming less and it's kind of right in the middle of my stream. So I am trialing something a little bit different, which is rather than go live my channel and then stop the stream and then come onto the podcast and go live again. I thought, you know what? Do some work in the morning. I'll just do the podcast straight away and then I'll go live after the podcast. See if it works. See how it feels.
Seems like
See
a
if I
good
can
plan.
balance-
We can raid
if I can balance it.
you.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we'll
Or
just see how it
stream
feels.
off with a boom.
There you go.
Yeah, because I miss talking to you guys. It's always fun. It's always fun.
It is
being on
fun.
the
This
podcast,
is
so-
how grown-ups get together and like talk.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
the break,
Why
but
it's
it's
hard.
great to see you
Yeah,
back
true.
for what it's worth. And, it's an
Podcast.
experiment. You said in this experiment, right? So, could go either way.
Yeah. Well, if you show up next week looking even younger, Fran, I'm out again. Okay.
I'm just going to keep
I'm
doing
looking
stuff. I don't know
almost
what else
always-
I could do.
He's having a facial tomorrow.
I'm going to get
He's
some
getting, like-
Botox and whatever I can do to continue to freak you out. Yes.
Do you know what my wife said? I said, look at this dude. Like after I rated him, I
I
said,
was
look
watching
at this.
during this. It was so funny.
I was like, look at this dude. How old do you reckon he is? And she's like, he doesn't have a single wrinkle on his forehead. I bet
I
she can't
totally
even
do, yeah.
smile because she thought you had Botox. And then he went like
I
this.
have.
And he's like, oh, he doesn't. I said,
Yeah.
it's natural.
No, I do have wrinkles. They're there.
Why
Him
is
and
They're
his
it
there.
wife
living?
were just like, "Can you believe this son of a bitch?"
Holding the
Eventually.
crying baby, bags under her eyes.
Yeah, I mean. Well, I appreciate that.
Me after getting just 7 hours of sleep. I look like an absolute wreck.
Yeah.
One of these days, Fran, you really just need to throw people off and just like We fire
Just
up
haggard.
we fire up the cams, right before we go live for the show, and it's like your nephew or something. And Mylin's like,
That would be even better. All right, noted. Figure that out. I gotta find a lookalike.
Can we just say it out loud? Are you comfortable saying how old you are out loud on the podcast, just in case people?
Yeah,
don't
no,
know?
it doesn't get. I will be 45 next year. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. 44 now. But yeah, no, I don't talk about it a lot just because like ageism and sexism and everything,
Shut
right? It's
up,
like,
you
what
look
are
great,
you?
mate.
How old are you? Blah blah. Yeah, no, but people now.
Holy.
Okay, I'll take it if people are reacting and confused. That's good.
what's it like
There you
getting
go.
the senior discount at McDonald's? You take advantage of that often?
There it is. All right, I'm drawing a line. That's as far as we're going with that. All right. Don't make age a thing. I'm just saying.
But you know
I'm
why this
kidding.
came up? Because Watts was like, Fran. Didn't want to say Fran worked at IGN for 18 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that doesn't
Yeah.
math. How
That
old is he?
doesn't make any sense.
How could he have worked at IGN for 18 years?
Yeah.
He started when he was
I was a
8.
baby.
Yeah, that's cool.
Amazing.
It's cool. Yeah, well, I
Well
mean,
done.
also, I do feel like on the other side of that, like you've just got a lot of experience in the industry, which is what makes your input so valuable in shows like this. So,
Oh,
and it shows.
that.
Definitely
Little
shows.
pat on the back for Gramps.
It does show.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. It is. It's not that I'm not proud of it. It truly is like there is a lot of. You guys might be able to relate, right? What you look like, what you're wearing, your hair color, your age, your sex, your blah blah. Everything becomes like conversation about that. And like I get the interest, and like some of that's fun, but like truly, you know how it is being a content creator. People turn the conversations into that, and it's like, yo,
Mhm.
do you like what I have to say or not? What does all of that have to do with what
Right.
we're doing here?
You want to
and-
be who you are, not like a list of things
Yeah.
that you are. Yeah.
It is funny.
Exactly.
There is a lot of conversation about your appearance. Watts is always talking about your dumpy. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about your dirty hands after the PlayStation 5 controller incident.
None of this is way out of context. Okay, my hands are clean. All right, that was a different situation.
learned the word dumpy and what it refers to.
Well, you got Dr. Dumpy himself right here.
Yeah.
All right, I
That's
think
all
Right, baby.
we've gone off the rails, folks.
Anyway, well, look, we had a good laugh to kick off the podcast before we get a bit serious.
Yeah, before,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
And then,
That's true.
and we'll do a little giggle again after.
Mhm.
That's true.
Shall we talk about the events at Bungie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the big
So,
news.
It is the big news. We found out that 220 people were let go.
Yeah.
Which is about 17% of the studio's workforce. And then they had another 155 people, which is roughly 12%, and integrating into various Sony studios. And then we didn't have a number in here. They told us about it in here, but then Jason Schreier came out and said that it's about 40 people who are going to be starting a brand new studio under PlayStation for an action game set in a brand new science fantasy universe.
That was formerly being developed like in Bungie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of canning it, clearly I assume Sony is interested in whatever it is, and they're like, yeah, like come make a studio over here.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was one of the projects that they had started and then
Yeah.
got taken over. Right.
Yeah.
Because
and I mean,
this is kind of where things stemmed from, right? Is like the notes from the CEO basically implied they had multiple projects on the go, and so their talent was split amongst multiple projects rather than just focusing on Destiny and Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I think everyone has seen the consequence of that is, both Destiny going downhill, and we haven't seen Marathon yet, but sounds like it's probably in development hell. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
it's tough to say that. I mean, I think this all sucks. Like, so we all agree on that. It sucks. These are real people.
Like the people
Yeah.
I've seen leaving
Yeah.
too. I'm just like, huh? What? Like this time around, I saw a lot of people that I at least follow on Twitter saying that they had
Yeah.
been let go.
An
Yeah, I mean,
angrier tone, I think, this time.
I think so.
Yeah,
from the
well, because it
employees
him
like that.
twice in under a year.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
after
I-
being promised it wouldn't happen.
And just after a massively successful TLC too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just going to put it in context. So the thing is, like, it's not excusing that this sucks, and there's definitely, you know, bad choices that leads to this, and capitalism and everything. But like, the industry has been bloodletting. Reminder, right, for over a year. 343.
Did you
Epic.
see
Embracer closing studio. Like Intel
Humble
today.
just got
If you're talking about that,
Intel, yeah.
yeah,
What happened?
10,000 people.
What?
yeah, which is like 15% of its workforce potentially at
10,000
Intel.
people.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's wild.
Like, Jesus, man.
And
That's a
it's
lot of
complicated,
people.
right? Because yeah, like stocks and stuff were going up, and investments and stuff all around the pandemic while we're all inside. You know, just weathering the storm. You had a lot of that going on. Also, more people were playing games, and like again, this is so complicated, but I think it's worth putting out there as a reminder, because I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, yeah, how is Final Shape the best reviewed thing?" And like now you're telling me it's definitely not as simple as that at all, right? And they saw this
No.
coming. And
we heard
yeah,
from
Did
I think
they
it was
see it coming?
Liana. Yeah, Liana on Twitter said that, well, a few people have said that people they knew that this was gonna happen when the first layoffs happened. And like, even, you know, if Final Shape sold 12 billion copies, it was only a month ago. So you're not even gonna be seeing, you know, like a significant impact on finances. This was always gonna happen.
yeah. Actually, I saw Steven Totilo, you know, who does GameFile now,
Is that
but
how
he
you
was
say his name?
Kotaku and Totilo. I mean, he's Totello as well. I think it's an Italian last name. He probably doesn't say Totilo. My bad. But I know him very well, so I can do it. Plus, I'm Italian. But yeah, I mean, he had insider report information that just kind of went out today. So I don't know if you guys caught that, but said a sizable this round of layoffs had been planned by Bungie for months, according to 2 former Bungie employees. So that's sourced just on that front. So it's like, again, it sucks, but yeah, I think they knew this for a long time. And what I would say too, and this is what I wanted to throw out there, is I'm just guessing, right? But you're talking about at potentially like a $50 million a year problem, right? Like, in other words, if you have 300 employees between last October, this year, that doesn't even include moving 40 employees under Sony to try to get them out of the books, because that's what that move is about, right? Because Bungie's got to hit its margins. You're talking a massive problem, right? Like, so much money. Now I'm speculating, but think about that, right? Like $50 to $100 million problem is where they're at. So I think that's the gravity of how we've arrived here, and will it be the last of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so we've seen this with a lot of companies in tech specifically, right? Because COVID had everything boom like crazy, and apparently every CEO was like, "Aha, this is
This'll
the
last
growth
forever."
we'll have forever."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bungie specifically, they were obviously making Destiny, they were making Marathon. We know that they were making Gummy Bears because we heard about that. And there's at least like 1 or 2 other projects that they were working on, and the only income they have is Destiny.
Destiny.
Not only that, but they opened a brand new studio that was super expensive. They were setting up a studio in Amsterdam, which has now been canned. So you're doing all of these things at once, when historically Bungie has been like a 1-game studio.
Yeah.
They've never
Yeah.
had more than one. So it would have been really nice if they were like, okay, we got a bit of a boom. Let's make another game. And they just have Destiny and Marathon. And then Marathon comes out, and then maybe you want to make another game. But having one game sustain all of your projects is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
very
sounds
high
smart
risk.
to me. Very high risk. It's gambling with people's lives, right? That's
Yeah.
basically what
I
you're
mean,
doing.
and this is why people are saying that P. Parsons should resign, right? Because these decisions that he made to spread everyone so thin, and the gamble didn't pay off. Those games didn't come through. They ran out of money, and it dried up. And that's partly because, you know, Destiny remained stagnant. You know, Destiny didn't continue to improve like it probably should have, to maintain a healthy player population to keep the money rolling in. And they had a poor Lightfall release. They probably switched people back on for Final Shape to do what they should have been doing all along, right?
Yeah, well, and we know for a fact from the PvP side of things, we know for a fact that before the Final Shape launched, they had rehired some people to work on Destiny PvP stuff who used to work on Destiny PvP stuff and had been let go. And the PvP community was like, "Do we even have a team anymore? Nothing's happening." And then we got the map pack because they did hire some people back on to work specifically on that. So, but I mean, like, yeah, they had decided that Destiny was no longer going to have as big of a team sustaining it and developing it, and pushing it forward to keep people happy, and that was obviously the bad call because that's your moneymaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's more complex than that, though, right? Because on one hand, aren't you saying like, oh, they should invest in more than just Destiny? They should spend more on Destiny, which they did with the final shape. But now the numbers haven't changed for Destiny, and they spent way more money on it potentially with the final shape.
Well,
didn't they?
Well, here's the thing, because again, you're talking about timelines, right? If you rewind a few years when we really started to see the decline in specifically the PvP side of things, where I kind of live in the game, we know for a fact at this point that there used to be a much larger group of people that were running the PvP side of things and keeping that experience moving forward. And then suddenly we went from, hey, every time there's a new DLC, you get 4 to 5, sometimes 7 new maps, to suddenly it was 0. Like, it was a gushing open tap. It went back to completely closed. And then when we asked, like, hey, could we maybe get some new maps? It's been a really long time. They said their response was, oh, we would love to do that, but we would have to take people off of PvE teams, and we can't afford to do that. And then they basically let the cat out of the bag that what was 2 teams working separately became 1. I mean, it's a little bit of an overstatement because there were still some people working on sustaining PvP, but in terms of innovating and pushing it forward, those people were no longer there. And so now, I mean, obviously, yes, they did have to spend a lot of more money on a current situation, but I think that it was a mistake made years ago that really led to the decline that we experienced.
Exactly. It's a snowball effect, right? It's like people in both PvP and PvE, when you get something like Lightfall and then you see no PvP maps, you like realize that resources are going elsewhere because, Destiny's not even just staying stable, it's actually getting worse. And in the statement, they said like for over 5 years, it's been our goal to ship 3 enduring global franchises, and we set up several incubation projects. So
Dude, that's so much in 5 years. 5 years to ship 3 games?
The game has been stagnant for 5 years, I'd say, right? It's been incredibly
Lightfall
stagnant.
was a huge boom, but unfortunately it didn't do enough to keep
But I mean, the
that
game
boom
hasn't
around.
changed dramatically in 5 years. Like other live service games change where they introduce drastic new modes and make huge changes. There hasn't been a sequel to Destiny 2 when I think any reasonable person expected there to be a Destiny 3 at some point. They've continued to just add microtransactions and make the thing like more and more about how much it's going to cost somebody, probably because they've got all this stuff to finance. Like it's no secret to me how this has been mismanaged for the last, I mean, at least 5 years, but really I would say since they left Activision. Activision always seemed like they were the adults in the room trying to keep these people on task, and Bungie by themselves has never been able to do it.
Well, what I was trying to ask was I was misunderstanding because it felt like we were saying 2 different things. Like they were spending and taking investment and spending more money on like, let's diversify so we can hire more. So we do have a bedrock of more than one game in case things go south in Destiny. We'll still have a footing, right? Because how did they even get to Destiny without Halo, right? And eventually selling it off. But I thought we were saying that, and then secondly, wait, are we saying we think they have spent less on Destiny in the last 5 years, Briar? Or
well,
like, are you saying?
I mean, I've never seen their financials, but doesn't that make sense? Like, logically, like
I think they've been spending more ultimately.
So
they've got one game that has to finance the creation of 3 games. So, like, of course, they have to be.
No, it can't.
They have to be taking some of that money and paying people. They did get that huge investment from Sony, but clearly they burnt through that pretty quick because they did the first.
Well, that was a buyout.
Round of layoffs a year later. Yeah,
they
got a lot of money though from Sony.
Well, that's why I asked,
like,
right?
Look, I like cars too, but
but that's what I'm getting at. Like, I would suspect a lot of that was investment. We actually NetEase headed. Was it NetEase or
Yeah, NetEase.
It was
they
NetEase.
took
Long time ago.
investment. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, like that's investment money, and like I'm not justifying any of that. I'm just asking like. Marathon and this other stuff was likely investment money, and the game market in 2020, everybody's playing games. Let's take the money. This is what Embracer Group did. I'm just pointing out. I think that's contributed to a lot of it, and it's probably less about, even though I don't think Destiny's player base has been where they want it. I don't think it's just like, oh, if they made Final Shape as good as it is now, plus it had more PvP maps, all their problems would be solved. I think the teams are.
Final Shape is like you can't deny, like, looking at the last 5 years, how many like delays there have been, how many kind of oops moments there's been, and like I would say the quality of the product has gone downhill over time. Sure, they've made updates, like they've done things like crafting, but like the innovation that you see in other live service games is just not there in Bungie. Like, you're not getting like these radically new experiences. You're not getting things like Trials of Osiris or Gambit or like these brand new experiences that really like say, oh man, look at what Destiny's doing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the gameplay side. I'm just saying, in my mind, all of that costs more money. I mean, we're facing a situation where it's way too expensive to do what they're doing today. And we're saying, yeah, it's still not good enough. And you should have got Destiny 3 out. And I'm like, well, that's even more money, I think, right? I think if you speculate, no, they're spending it all on Marathon, and no,
I don't know what they're spending on.
That's investment money. Most
look,
likely.
I don't think it's speculation. Like, this is from Pete Parson. I read the paragraph, and I guess it's up to interpretation how you interpret this. But he said, for over 5 years, it's been our goal to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises. So I don't know if that obviously must include Destiny, right? So to ship 2 other live service games, enduring games. To realize that ambition, we set up several incubation projects. So
so they didn't just choose
more
like 2
more
games.
than 2.
Yeah.
So like to see what, to start testing what would work, which each seated with senior development leaders from our existing teams. So they've had to take people off Destiny and Marathon to seed incubation projects to reach the goal of having 3 live service games, essentially, one of those being Destiny. We eventually realized that this model stretched our talent too thin too quickly. No shit. It also forced our studio support structures to scale to a large level where we could realistically support, giving our 2 primary products in development, Destiny and Marathon. So it's scaled too quick, spread everyone too thin. And I think that's all we're saying is like, with a game like Destiny that's been around for 10 years, I don't think, at the very minimum, you need to like maintain, and at the best, you need to be like improving to keep like building that like revenue, right? Those new players coming in. And I don't think it did that because their teams were spread too thin. Like, you look at seasons, you look at episodes, they're all like repetitive and the same thing that we've had for a really long time. I think you got to work really hard with a live service to like maintain a healthy player population, like with PvP maps and other game modes. And I think that's what Briar and TV are saying as well. And then you've got to introduce things as a jumping platform for new players to enter your franchise and get caught up in Destiny. And I think they just didn't have enough feet on the ground to do that as well as it needed to keep Destiny going. Or at least keep it enough to fund however many several incubation projects are. You're probably looking at 5 if you want to ship 3. Like, I don't know how that would work. Like, how many
they're much smaller teams
do you have
normally for that stuff?
What's that?
Like, meaning at one point Destiny was an incubation project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And again, when I read that, I'm like, oh, well, there's another simple fact too, right? Is they wanted to get sold. This was obviously on the table, and they wanted to get $3 billion. There's a lot to unpack on like what decisions were made and how greedy was that.
Well, as far as
so
we've heard,
they blew themselves up.
They had to. It was either being bought out and being a part of like Sony or whatever, or potentially Bungie not existing, period.
Right.
So
Right, but that doesn't mean they needed to take, to your points there, maybe, that they took tons. This is very common, right? You blow up the size of the company, and I'd actually be really curious, what is Bungie's employee number dating back to about 2012 or whatever? I'd be very curious to see that. Yeah. So again, like when you say, oh, they're stretching the teams thin, like I think they probably hired like 500 people over the past,
They hired a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at.
Lot.
They spent all this money to blow up, get bigger, do more stuff. How that affects Destiny, I think, is very complex, and we could only speculate. But yeah, like I mean, if you just take him at his words, like yeah, we took a bunch of money, we hired a bunch of people, we got a bunch of projects going, then we got bought, we took all that money, and the economy took a downturn, and now it all blew up in our face, and people are paying the price.
Yeah, but the people pay the price are the workers, right? The devs.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these when you read stuff like this, these are upper management decisions. These are CEO decisions that have been made, and that's why they get paid the big bucks to predict and make risk like this. And the alternative was maybe they did produce 3 fantastic live service games, and they're rolling in even more money. But the end of the day is they didn't. So
they didn't. They
CEO needs to take responsibility and go, like,
yeah.
I led the company down this path and it did not pay off. And I guess why people are fucking pissed off, because he's bragging about 2.3 million cars in his garage and people can't afford groceries or are pregnant and, you know, about to pop a baby out and lost their benefits. And then I think that's why the community is angry about this kind of stuff. Is like, we can speculate all we want, but at the end of the day, it didn't pay off. The risk didn't pay off. Your incubation projects didn't pay off. You haven't seen any of that money come through, and the average person is paying the price. And thankfully, like for all the negatives the Destiny community has, we are also pretty empathetic and like feel pretty outraged for the standard dev losing their job.
Yeah, absolutely. There is something happening right now that I think we should probably talk about. There's not a ton of news about it or information. It's just being widely reported that Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy have been a part of leaving the company. So obviously those are huge people who have been a part of Destiny for a long time. And I want to give a little bit of a perspective in like this kind of situation, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, well, we don't need Luke anymore, we don't need Mark anymore, and that's why you're gone. It's not like a black and white situation. So if Sony purchases Bungie, and a part of those contracts are going to be that you maintain your position at Bungie, right? Like they're paying employees to be retained there, because if you buy a company and everyone leaves, it's like it loses its value entirely. But you can't have people locked into a company and be like, okay, well now we're going to hire you as a janitor. You were the CEO, well now you're a janitor and you're stuck. Good luck. Suck it. So it could be the case that maybe with all of the reorganizing, we've heard in this article that this is the biggest reorganization that Bungie has ever done, that maybe they didn't have a parallel position for those people anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the report I'm seeing on GameSpot here, which came, I guess,
do we have any extra information? Because that would be nice.
Yeah,
but,
it came via Jeff Grubb, I guess, who I did catch a little this morning. He was saying that he had some sources on the matter in general, and like he had said here that it was Luke Smith and Noseworthy, that they were supposedly working on that project Payback, which was not, according to Jason Schreier, not Destiny 3. It was like a spin-off, but everybody turned it into that's Destiny 3. So anyway, they may have been working on that. That's what he's reporting. And then since that shelved, definitely now they're gone as part of it, according to the report.
I mean, ultimately,
which would make sense. They
none
cut
of us
that
know
team.
why, right? None of us know why, who the people were cut and the reason behind they were cut, or what their plan is.
Mhm.
I think for us as a Destiny community, where we don't know anything about businesses or the business of Bungie, but what we need for Bungie. I know it's hard because a lot's going on right now, but we need them to come and tell us about the future of Destiny. Like, what are the actual plans? Are you doing expansions? Are you doing raids? When you don't even need to tell me when things are happening, but like, what is your plan for Destiny? And I think that's important.
I can tell you what they're not doing. They're not telling fucking stories, because they basically fired the entire narrative team.
They did. Yeah, I saw Robert was
Yeah, I
gone.
saw
He's
some
been
reports on that.
huge for
They
like
just fucking nuked
narrative.
narrative. Like the
They, you
narrative
know, they
leadership
nuked
dead.
player support too, and player
Player
support.
support,
One
narrative,
of the
music.
one of the people that I follow, she was saying that like if you liked what happened in Final Shape, that's because player support was pushing for all of the things that you wanted in Final Shape. And
Yeah, it's a
not there
huge mess. It's
Yeah.
I think part of it we're trying to unpack like how do we get here? And again, I was only trying to get to the point. The entire industry is screwed right now. I would just keep reminding too. I know it's my own personal thing that I throw out, but the free to play concerns about the price of gaming, etc. Think about that when you're buying stuff on sale, when you're playing free to play stuff, and that it can. I'm just speculating, create these types of problems. But then, now you got the reorganization, and like the one thing that we do like from them in general, and like, what is the future of Destiny now because of this?
And who's running the show?
uh,
Is this like a sign as like Sony like taking over? I mean,
That's
isn't that what the original layoffs were about? Was like we're trying to lean this down so that Sony doesn't like take control of the company.
There were
Yeah.
reports that if they weren't meeting targets, I don't know how well verified that was, that they would wrestle control as opposed to acting independently.
With 100 some
Um,
people getting moved over to Sony, with 200 some people getting laid off, with another 40 getting absorbed
Yeah,
by
they-
Sony as a studio. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, like again, like I don't have any
They-
insight here, but like, kind of looks like
There's over
Sony's taking
800
over.
Yeah, there's over
Looks
800
like they're in
people
charge. Yeah.
at Bungie today. So if you parse through that, I would estimate that, let's just say there's 800 people. I mean, 100 executives, just, in support group. I don't know. You got 700 people, testers, etc. I mean, you're probably down to what, like a 300 size Destiny team, 350, and then
there's
Marathon.
850 people total.
Right. And then I'm just getting it like of the development core, you probably have like what, Marathon's got a couple hundred, Destiny's got 350. I don't know. But that's probably what it looks like as of today. Speculatively, like depending on how big Marathon is. So if anything, where I'm going with that is like, I would think Marathon is really impacted where they were. Yeah, probably transferring people back and forth, but it's also their next big bet.
Yeah.
Like, where does that leave us to?
There's 100% going to be people that they've like pulled into Marathon to work on it until it ships, like to get it in a good shipping spot, and then
Mhm.
you can put them back on Destiny or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude.
Have you seen these? Do we talk about these rumors about the content packs and what's gonna come?
Yeah.
2025.
So
That's a
I'll
good
be
question.
honest. So I put out a tweet earlier because people really pissed me off. Mostly these Destiny Twitter accounts, which I've blocked all of them because all they do is stir up drama and post leaks.
Sure.
But I
I'll have
said
to
like,
make some new ones then.
It's fine if you have sources, right?
well, so this is the thing. I just said I wish that the Destiny Twitter accounts wouldn't use the loss of people's jobs as a way to push unfounded rumors that are totally false to clickbait on Twitter.
Yeah.
And one of those was Destiny 3's canceled. Destiny 3 was never being created. Like they just put that there to, it's like, let everyone's mad at Bungie. Let's make them more mad. So why any of you guys follow those people, I do not know, because they don't care about the community at all. They just want to make you mad, so you press their article. Stop it.
Speaking
Block
my
'em.
language, sources, verify,
Yeah.
like people suddenly, and that was where I was going a lot. Is like, it's easy to go off the rails and they said, and it turns into like people start repeating stuff as factual. This is what happened.
Right.
But anyway, I appreciate you saying that, because be careful, do your diligence, especially as to Watt's points. Like people are just like distraught right now, and news reporting is one thing if you're bulletproof sources, etc., reliable sources, but it's not cool when you're just doing drama Kool-Aid stuff for the clicks.
Yeah.
And-
So one of them was, Destiny 3 was canceled, and the other one was
Yeah.
the content pack, which we have absolutely no information on at all.
No. And
Yeah,
I had
it was just
a
rumors.
discussion on YouTube about those topics today, but one of the very first things I say is, hey, all of this stuff is completely speculation. There's no
Right.
And then actually, like,
Exactly.
even before I even finished it, Jason Schreier clarified stuff. So I roped that into it too. So it is important just to remember when you get this information, you do have to vet it and assume that nothing is 100% true. So, especially
Yeah,
on
look,
day,
yeah,
day
I'm
one
gonna
and
give you
day two, of these things
I'm going to
going
give you
down.
straight speculation here from Myelin Games. No story next week because nobody's writing any fucking story because they fired everybody.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to
The
dial in on
law's
that
dead.
to dial in on that question, I wonder how far out are they in the episodic development? Are we going to see
I
that
don't know.
come to fruition? Because I do see polish additions to episode 1, even if it is still roughly the seasonal stuff. They were talking about this big upcoming exotic mission. So like me, I wonder if this even affects the current plan, let alone Frontiers we know is out there, which was
well, here's
not
the thing.
payback, presumably.
Right.
Presumably.
If the layoffs that happened yesterday were planned and accounted for months ago,
That's a good point.
then I would assume that we're still on track to meet the goals they laid out in the live stream they had just after the final shape dropped, where they did the live stream. They said, "Here's what's coming next. We've got the vampire episode, and that vampire themed stuff, and what else? All the other themed episodes they've got coming out leading up to Frontiers." I would assume that if they knew about the layoffs before they had that live stream, then
That's a very
if
good point.
they were going to deviate from that plan, they probably would not have had that live stream and set expectations.
And we already know. I mean, of course, it's always possible that none of what is being said is true. But in the article that talked about this from Pete, it was saying that all of our current plans are still in place. So officially,
Cool.
everything at least that we know of, will be happening.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
think
not like
one
I
of
think-
Hazel, I think, was one of the narrative leads, and I think on her Twitter thread she was talking about how she's written stuff for like Heretic and stuff like that. So like a lot of those balls are already rolling, and I imagine people that have already contributed to making those things, like the narrative team for Heretic, and that's why they've been let go because they've done the work for it already.
Episode 3, yeah. No,
Episode 3.
Yeah, but long
I don't-
term, you want to see those threads continue, right? It's like this. One of the things about this game is you want to see the story kind of evolve and continue, and like you don't want a situation like we had from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, where like we're just done with the whole darkness thing, right? We're just not going to do that anymore.
Oh, you remember the War Mines? Yeah, don't worry about it. There's only one, all right, Rasputin. Oh boy.
Yeah, no, and to be clear, I think episode 3, of course, is still happening, and a lot of that is fairly cooked, I'm sure. It was like the polish extension, meaning if episode 1 was kind of the warm up here, and we're starting to see, we have seen some more cutscenes, potentially this biggest exotic or coolest exotic mission we'll see. I sort of assumed we're going to see some ramp up to the quality episodes, but now I wonder if by the time we get to 3, if we'll start to see they weren't able to like totally polish up some of that and what that means, ongoing. It's obviously way too early to know. And then, of course, what does that mean for Frontiers, which never had a date, really much definition at all, and hopefully was not Project Payback. I assume that was totally separate from Frontiers. This is a wild time. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
You're just-
ultimately, if you see people on social media posting like that they're looking for work, if you can just give it a retweet, it definitely helps a
Yeah.
lot. There's also other developers putting stuff out saying, hey, we have positions open at this company and this company. If you retweet those as well, it's all going to be helpful. And maybe these Destiny Twitter accounts can do something good for once and maybe put together a list of companies that are hiring or people that are hiring. Put out an article of contact information of people that need jobs. I don't know, just a thought.
Yep. Be productive.
The silver lining here, I mean, I guess it's kind of a silver lining, depending on how good the deal is. But this would have been a lot more than 220 people just straight up without a job if they weren't able to move to Sony. Hopefully, the jobs that they're getting there are like being paid the same amount of money and they're not losing out on anything. And the fact that, there's clearly been devs at Bungie working on a game and they didn't get their project just that they've put a bunch of time and effort and love into canceled. They are going to have the opportunity to get that into the world via a new Sony studio. So,
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. It
Hope
sounds
that
like there's a
goes well.
couple hundred people in there that they did, work very hard to save those. That doesn't help everybody else, but it is
No.
a small thing and worth noting. And yeah, on that front, maybe it's props to PlayStation in that sense because what they're doing, right, is they're taking off of Bungie's books, presumably, all of those people. They're getting 200 people out of the books for Bungie and putting them on PlayStation just so they can retain those jobs. And again, all of this to I don't know if it's a $50 or $100 million problem ongoing at Bungie, but it's a lot of money that we're losing.
Yeah, I mean, hey, wasn't Microsoft like, yeah, no, we don't want Bungie back. They burn through money. It's a very
Yeah.
expensive game. It's an expensive game. And I don't know if that's because it needs to be this expensive or if things are not being managed well and that's why it's more
Mhm.
expensive.
Or
But
because Ferraris
um,
exist.
I mean, so I mean, okay, let's talk about the cars. So Pete buys a lot of cars.
Yeah.
The thing is, so it's like you can have a conversation of CEOs shouldn't get paid that much money.
Yes, we should
But
have that
he's
conversation. Globally.
We should. But he is buying the cars with his money, not like Bungie's money. He's not
Bungie's
taking
CEO
money.
paycheck.
He's
It's
not
just a
going-
shitty look that he's laying off.
It's not good.
Yeah,
No, it's
he's
definitely
laying off
not
people,
good.
and he's posting, stories on. I can't even remember the social network of his $2.4 million car collection. Which that's not even.
It's
That number came from. I read the article. That number came from just
last
one
2 years.
auction website.
Yeah.
That's how much he spent on one auction website, not his complete collection.
Yeah, who knows
Well,
how
from-
big it is.
from what I read from ex Bungie employees, like he was telling people that though, right? Like he
Yeah,
told
so-
people
and-
about his cars, and then next
okay,
fucking
well,
week
okay,
fired him.
Wait, hold, because there's important context, and Liana is very hell-bent on people having anger in the right place and having
Right.
all of that context. And I'll bring it up because I don't want to
Okay,
misquote her.
that's what I read. I think I read Liana's one. So
Yeah, so this is the clarification of it, I think. No, it's not. I'm gonna have to look for it. But the TLDR was that she was saying that. Oh, here's the clarification. I got it. Want to clarify something because it's very important with some stuff going on behind the scenes that everything public is being accurately perceived. A colleague shared about being approached by Pete to see his cars. The way people interpreted that, while still effed up regardless, was he rolled up to this person randomly and offered them solo to come to his place. This is not to say that's never happened, but it didn't happen like that with myself and it didn't happen with this colleague in question. So here's the correction. A few of us were in the lobby downstairs where I was talking about the groceries thing, and the groceries thing is that I can't afford to get groceries this week. He walked up on his way out and walked into that conversation. Obviously an awkward conversation to have your boss walk right up to, even though pay was a big topic publicly, and I'd had previous meetings with HR to try and get the pay band raised. To cut the tension, I said, we gotta race sometimes. I just got my racing license because Liana used to drag race, and now she can do it legally on NASCAR tracks. He then invited me to see his cars and then immediately extended that invite to the colleagues who were around us. So that's the context.
That's different context.
It wasn't
Yeah.
just going, hi, I have 2.3 million cars I just bought. You want to go take a ride? It was like Liana said, we should
Yeah.
race. I just got my license. And he's like, hey, you
okay,
can
that's
come take a
different.
look at my cars.
There's
But I
was
was
just
just
gonna-
saying, I do agree with Briar. Like CEOs should not make as much money as they do. I know people talk about like Nintendo all the time. If like he took a pay cut to not fire people, that's because in Japan you legally cannot do stuff like that. Like you cannot just lay off your employees like that. So maybe we need something like that in the U.S. which will never happen, where you can't just fire 220 people and throw them out the door without even.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Well, you're
See, this is
asking
why I'll
people
never
to
be a
legislate
CEO.
themselves. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I think everyone here wouldn't make a good CEO because I can't imagine spending $1 million, $2 million on a fucking car and then seeing 200 people lose their jobs. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
wasn't
Like,
just one
where's the
car.
fucking guilt? I don't know. I just can't imagine
But I
having
mean,
that much.
Go
fucking
take this
money
out in the
to blow
car,
a car.
Myelin.
yeah,
Cars, Briar.
we want to we want accountability though, right? I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of like trying to like look at all these like what you go look up his house. Look up, you know how many people at Bungie make tons of money in the houses they have, and like it's complicated. I'm not saying that he is doing the right thing because I don't like work there, but like pointing to his cars, it's not like he fired a bunch of people and then went out and bought like 5 classic cars yesterday, right? It's something to look at. It's like, hey, Pete's rich. Well, yeah, he's been at this company for 30 years that he sold for $3 billion. Like,
I agree
the
with you.
important part to focus
He
on.
got a lot of stocks.
I'm just pointing out we should focus on. We want to see the accountability. It's not going to solve the $50 million problem,
No,
and I think
ain't the
that's the
rich.
real issue. Like,
This is
even
the
if you
problem
pay
with
them
new
less,
money is they
That's
want
Sony's
to
next
show it off
game.
so much.
One of them's about eating rich people. Well,
Let-
killing
let-
them in like a PvP game. So.
let me put it this way too. I've been through a lot of buyouts, and at the ass end of it too. You know, working real hard while pigs, we call them, financially at the top. They negotiated the deals. They took so much money. They don't care about you. And like, absolutely, I think there's stuff
No.
like that going on. But like, the problem is so much bigger than like, you know what I mean? You could even get rid of Pete, but you might have someone also come in that just sucks even worse. And I've seen that happen. So yeah, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying like,
can
it's so
always get
easy to
worse.
point at that. And yeah,
Well,
I
no,
just
I mean,
the industry
the
needs to
reason I
change as a
brought it
whole.
up-
I think is why I'm going with this.
I get the reason I brought it up is you have to have a completely different mindset to be CEO. Because I'm just saying, a normal person who has been at a company like Bungie for so long and been a CEO and has so much extra cash to buy cars, like how can you not be so like I would be so guilt ridden that I would step down. Would you not be like, yeah, this is like take responsibility and be like, this is my fault. Guess what? I can quit tomorrow and I'm still fucking rich. La la la. I'm taking responsibility. I'm stepping down. I did not lead this company in the right direction. And that's all I'm saying is like to be in that position, you can't be right in the head, really. Like it's a completely different mindset.
Oh, it's even the thing of like, you know, we heard that Pete went into the meeting and said, "We've kept all the right people." Just that
from last year.
like I could
Yeah.
never say that to after I could just never after laying off a bunch of people, right? Like when you're that rich, live in a different world.
Yeah.
And they're very detached from a lot of our experiences. So yeah, you do have to be a different kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, he said that
Different kinda
knowing
guy.
that they were bleeding money.
Fuck me.
It's freaking complicated. No, I was going off on that, I guess, because I was like, the industry
I know what you're
needs to
saying,
change.
Fran.
Consumers, but it's consumer stuff too. And like, I know it's a personal vendetta, but man, a free to play. No offense, you know, yeah, you're out there playing First Descendant, tons of Destiny players playing it. Is that the right model? I don't know. I have really bad taste in my mouth about that stuff. Every time I play a new game, is it on sale yet? Is it on Game Pass? I mean, we're just at a point where like it's not your fault, by the way, that this is happening. It's consumers. I'm just like, the industry needs a huge reality check now that the carpet has been pulled out from underneath them. And I think we're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
There's some really big changes, like Game Pass is under fire. I'd be very curious, where all this goes. I mean, we almost lost Rocksteady because of freaking live service games too. Just a
True.
separate topic, but
Yeah, it's just ultimately it's really sad, and there's clearly still a lot of information we do not know. Jason Schreier's putting out like a whole piece tomorrow, apparently, delving into more
Looking forward to
details
that.
about this. So currently, as we are right now, as of Thursday, August 1st, all I could say is that it sucks. And I hate that people get to gamble with people's livelihoods in this way. And I hope more companies end up going the route of really what you see a lot of Japanese companies do. And I think it's probably because of their protection laws for employment. They tend to hire when they really need someone. But that also means that if you work there, you're probably working 5 jobs and you have to sleep at the office. So, nothing's
Yeah.
really perfect.
I mean, the other thing
people need
is, surely
protections.
this is going to have an impact on the industry in like 10 years' time, because everyone going through study right now or the younger generation that are looking into game development going, why the flying F do I want to be a game developer with such instability in the industry? So I guarantee we're going to get to a point where like we're actually in need of game devs, and it's going to be due to this like post-COVID section where people just lost their jobs. One day had them, next day couldn't buy the groceries, and it's not a appealing job to go for, regardless of how fun it might be to make a video game.
It's industry wide too, and it was a couple of months ago. There was that story, like somebody did a study about how gamers are playing the same like hours worth of games like per gamer, but they're playing fewer games, especially fewer new games, which is really impacting. You know, it's impacting indie devs especially hard, but it's impacting everybody across the board because you got games like Fortnite and Rocket League and Destiny, just like people just like, oh, I this is the game I play, and I don't buy new games, right? Like it's not part of my repertoire, and you know, like, you need to develop new games. You know, like we need new stuff.
Therein lies the rub. Yeah, how do you develop that new stuff and take these big risks? You know,
it's just I find myself thinking a lot these days about the success of Baldur's Gate. What an outlier to have Larian be like, it's not a live service game. We're not doing DLC. We spent years making this game, and we think it's perfect, and everybody loved it. And then they're like, "Yeah, make a sequel." And they're like, "No."
No, well, you know what? What's different with leadership? Isn't that CEO like amazing? Wasn't he wearing like suits of armor and shit?
And his speech. And his whole like speech when they're accepting awards was like, "Hey, we just believe that if you make a really good game, you're also gonna make a lot of money," and we did. It was cool.
That's kind of the difference, right? It's like following. We just want to make a really good game, and obviously, you need a lot of money behind being able to be in development for that long with that many people.
Yeah.
But you're following like, I want to make a really good game. We don't want to do a DLC because we don't think it makes sense for our game. We don't want to do a part 2 or a part 4, I guess in this case, because we don't think it makes sense for our game. Whereas you have other companies, and this is not just games. This is TV shows and everything, where they're like, people are loving this. Let's keep going until they stop loving it. And then eventually end up hating it because they've bled it dry.
Shots fired at Call of Duty over here. Just catch it straight.
What Call of Duty did you watch?
It's very sad. It's very, very, very sad. I hope that everyone who is the 220 people who are out of a job, I hope you can land on your feet soon. I hope that the severance package and all that stuff is good enough to keep you going for a bit. And then to people at Sony who got put into Sony, I hope you like the games you're making.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think the best case out of all of this is the people who are getting to make a new studio, right? Because clearly I assume they like the game that they're working on, and they get to keep making that game.
Let's hope.
Yep.
Let's hope let's hope so. Maybe they can move into that
like,
new building they made because no one else is there.
Overall, right, for the Destiny community, whether you like the game, are still playing the game, or not still playing the game, I don't think people can really envision the future for Destiny, and I think that's what is troublesome. Is like we don't know what's happening next year. We don't know what the content plans look like, and it's really hard to imagine that they're going to produce good content when they are having so many difficulties financially with the studio, and it's hard to continue to commit to a game when there is so much unknowns. And once all the anger fades from the CEO stuff, that will be the next phase I think the community will go through, is like, why should I keep playing this when we don't know anything and we don't know where it's going, and we don't know if I should continue to commit to a live service when there's other games I could be playing? And that's always going to snowball into worse financial situations for Bungie.
That's why I get so upset about the Destiny 3 thing, is because you think about the most exciting time, and like as a Destiny fan, it was when Destiny 2 was on its way, right? It's like, it was so exciting. And to like, you know, of course they've said like, there's not going to be a Destiny 3. We're just going to continue Destiny 2. But how do you attract new players to a game that they tried 5 years ago and were like, you know, I played it for a couple months. Now I'm doing something else. You know, now I'm playing Fortnite. You know, like how do you keep people coming back, or how do you attract a brand new big audience?
Well,
Yeah.
you can't. There's only so many live services you can play, you know?
Mhm.
There's a finite resource of time for every human on the planet, and we can
Yeah.
barely play one.
That's what we
We
really
can barely
need to
play
fix.
one game.
Like, can somebody start working on that? Can we get more
I'm
time,
saying.
please?
So where we
Fewer
don't need
live
to
service
sleep. Yeah.
games, fewer free-to-play games. I'm down
Let's
for that.
just make the day
Uh,
like 36 hours. Can we just make the day 36
Or
hours?
that is also good. But you have to work an extra 8 hours to afford all those microtransactions. So
I'm out.
it's tricky.
I'm out.
To just
Look, I'm really kind of maxed out at the 2 I'm doing now. So
yeah.
That's right.
I just wanted to quickly come full circle on what Myelin was saying is you guys brought it up before. Is the roadmap stuff. I have heard more about that. Now you've shaken the player base, and I do think that after they take a moment here and they got to figure stuff out internally. I'm sure it's chaotic as everybody learns and reorganizes. But for the fans and the community team talking to them, like, yeah, we do need to, at least for those of us who do play, we do need to keep the coals warm, you know. And they normally have a showcase in August, right? I don't think that I was even expecting that, given the new 6-month, change of things. So when and where that will be, I don't know. But all we know is we've got these episodes coming, and that's about it. And yeah, I think people aren't excited enough to rally around the franchise, especially after the human toll, right? That we look at.
Yeah, and I think
today.
it's a combination too of like how poorly the first episode was received and how similar that was to a season. And I think people were expecting a little bit of a shake up with episodes, for them to play out a little bit differently and to offer something a little bit new. And it obviously is not the case anyway for episode 1. And I think that compounds some of the issues here because it's like, well, they put out a final shape, and a lot of people were like looking at as the end of the line to jump off the Destiny train if episodes are going to be the same as seasons.
Yeah, it's also
they still
like
got a lot to prove there.
Punch in the gut, right? Of like, wow, final shape, we're so back. I love that. This is so good. And then go do public events. It's like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to do that.
doing those since 2014.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if we were going to talk about that this week, but I still would put out there. I know people are disappointed that episodes didn't meet the hype meter that they kind of put out there, but I have seen a lot of quality stuff that I'm really happy to see, and I think it deserves credit, especially those people that worked really hard on it. And honestly, this week with like all the new battlegrounds that rolled out, and this week I'm like another cutscene, and actually a pretty cool one. I'm like, that's great to see, instead of standing at a hollow projector, even though we still do some of that. It was way less than some other seasons. You are seeing improvements.
Yeah, and I will say, even like as a predominantly PvP guy, doing the battleground stuff and the new battlegrounds especially, I'm just looking around that space and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, a lot of times you get people, a lot of times you get people who are like, oh, we never get new strikes. I'm looking around this place and I'm like, this is like way cooler than half the strikes that I play in this game anyways. So I was just kind of get credit where it's due. I do think the battlegrounds activities were very well delivered.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, as we round out Act 3, it's the talk of this exotic mission. Hopefully nothing has changed there. It's supposed to be their biggest ever. Hopefully that at least is a moment. But, because we don't have the roadmap, it's hard, again, for people to rally around this. That's what they need to have. Biggest exotic mission, September 15th, next dungeon, October 3rd, blah, blah. And then just put it in front of players so at least they don't just see, oh, we have only 3 episodes. We used to have 4 seasons, but episodes feel like seasons, because that's the problem we're at. People don't know how to, decode that in the meantime. And then beyond that, it's probably a good time to be like, look, Frontiers is coming. And is it even coming out in 2025? Like, we probably should know that in the next several months. It'd be good to know.
I think people do know how to decode it. They've just decoded to, episodes are pretty similar to seasons, but a longer time period.
It looks like we're getting more cutscenes.
But more polish
this week.
And I'm happy with that. What's that, Watts?
It looks like we're getting more cutscenes as we've seen from this week, because we got hardly any cutscenes in seasons.
Yeah, and again, hopefully with all these changes, that's retained throughout.
I don't know. I'll be interested in going back and counting, because you normally get like a mid-season reveal, and then you get like an end of season reveal. And and an ink blot. So, you know, we've had one fully rendered like cutscene at the beginning of the act or the episode, or the act 1, episode 1, which was like looked like frontiers, like Saints and Osiris like going off somewhere. I don't know. I'm interested to count exactly how many more we got, because it doesn't. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if it's like.
Myelin, that would be a
much
great
more.
piece. I'm just saying it, because I bring this up a lot. Is I mentally, while I'm live and commenting on and tracking, like, ooh, this season, and then like I lose track of it. I wish if anybody in the community, I mean this sincerely, has kept track of like what the seasons rolled out, you know, new mission, because there's like, right, we got missions in this, we got 3 battlegrounds, we got breach, we got expert mode of breach, we got all these count of weapons, and then we're getting an exotic mission, we got 2 or 3 cutscenes, you know, but meaning like just take the mission as an example, Myelin. You don't always get missions. We got a tutorial mission.
Yeah,
we got this mission
like
this week.
You have got more gameplay
There is more.
content, yeah.
And it's more polished. There's more cutscenes, yeah.
I'm super bitter about the rollout of the narrative, because if you actually break down like Act 1, Episode 1, if you break down every week, they were just stretching the same story over like however many weeks that was. It was just like collect more. It was literally collect more data for robot lady failsafe, right? That's all it was. That was the entire, and to the little like twist at the end. So it's like, this doesn't count as more story content, just saying the same shit every week.
Are we allowed to talk story spoilers this week?
I haven't even played it, so yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I saw. Okay, well, heads up for listeners if you haven't played the story content.
Take a 5-minute break, otherwise.
Yeah,
we'll have time code.
Yep. So I'll give you a minute to click off. But I did see some feedback from folks that are much more interested in story content than I am. Not to say that I'm not interested at all, but some people would take it a lot more seriously than I do. Were like, they really should have led with the Maya Sundaresh reveal as Conductor. Like having that out there to sort of set the tone for people, because they were like, we all knew anyways. If you follow the story, you knew that's where they were going with this. So, you know, lead with her character up front, make her imposing, and that would have gotten them a lot more excited to continue to tune in every week and see how we're going to deal with her as a threat. So, but I thought their reveal of her character was good overall. She looks great, nice design.
What happens? What do they do?
Well, you know, eventually you kind of fight your way. You fight your way deeper and deeper into this space that they're hollowing out in Nessus until eventually you kind of reach this grotto of sorts. She's sort of in a little pond with floating Vex, you know, and she's kind of doing her Conductor manipulating thing. And she talks about how her vision is really, now that the predominant threat has been dealt with, she's thinking about the future of humanity, and she, you know, her vision for how humanity can move forward and thrive post the Witness is really to have her as the conductor of the hive mind, so that everything can move forward optimally, right, and function properly.
She's
no
a good person.
Yeah, she sees herself as humanity's future, like.
But is she good? Like,
so
she's a villain with a good mindset, like Thanos, or is she actually like?
Oh, she's like, if you get in my way, I will repurpose you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's like, I will force I know this to be the correct thing to do, and if you do not agree with me, just know that I'm going to break your mind down and repurpose it for whatever I want.
I might be down for that, honestly.
And also, it was
You're going to do all of my thinking for me? Oh, that's great. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
And also, right, part this week was the going back to Saint's body. Is that right? Is my one still there?
Yeah, so we also visited the original Saint's body. And
you went back to the corners of, what was the halls of time or whatever?
Yeah, and Saint sort of interacts with the corpse and is able to recall some memories of the original Saint's final moments. So he kind of had that reckoning there.
Yeah, and that was a mission to go do that. So that was part of it. That was in there. Yeah, I got to tell you, as someone who does not, you know, pay enough. It's not that I watch the lore. It's just I never read the lore books and get into it, and always reading chat while I'm streaming. So I get confused easily, I admit. But as somebody in that situation,
old age, Fran.
I didn't go there.
As somebody who's always been like that, the whole reveal of the conductor and Lakshmi's voice and everything, I definitely was very confused. I was like, wait, I don't even remember what happened to Lakshmi. So like Maya Sundaresh and I totally am still piecing together, even though they do help you go over it at, I think, the Holo Projector as well. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Myelin, of like her
doesn't know what's going on. He's a
backstory.
once human content creator called Myelin James. All right, he's Myelin James. He teaches us about acid. All right, thank you.
Acid farm, baby.
But I didn't remember Maya Sundaresh from before, to be honest. So that was
Maya Sundaresh is she made contact with the Veil because they first were the founders of Neomuna and discovered the Veil there, touched the Veil and became kind of evil, and made a copy which became Lakshmi 2 and sent back to Earth. Lakshmi 2 ended up being a copy of Maya Sundaresh, but not quite right. And then made an experiment where she called herself the Conductor, trying to like combine the minds of exos, and they all died, and that was the last we saw of her, I think. And then we realized she's this Conductor.
Yeah. See, there you go. I knew he had something.
The Veil. The Veil.
Helpful.
The Veil.
You didn't pay attention to Livefall? You didn't log in weekly? You didn't log in weekly, go to the Veil containments? Listen to the sentence of dialogue?
I'm sure I did. Well, I don't know about that part.
No, I watched.
You want me to stand there? Yeah. Anytime I have to stand and read a big wall of text that, like, fail safe, or I've been trying to do a better job with it because, again, they've broken it up more, but especially like big audio dumps where you're just walking around in the helm, and I'm like, wait, what was?
I had a great experience this week. I was playing Once Human on stream, and I asked a question, and it was basically like an exotic in the game. And someone said, "Oh, do you play Destiny? It's like an exotic." And I had them. Wow. Destiny? No, I never really got into
Never heard of it.
I tried it in 2014.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm waiting for Destiny 3. I might jump in then.
Okay, so are we spoilers over? I'm going to mark it in the time
That's
code.
amazing.
So,
Sure.
any more on this, spoilers? No?
I'll leave it.
Okay.
I've been playing
it is a
Shadow
good
and
week.
Erdtree, and I had to look up why am I even doing this? So there is like a middle ground between like story that's like too much, where like they make you like slow walk so you can like listen to two people talk for like 30 minutes.
Totally.
And like just having no idea why you're like, oh, I just touched this arm and now I'm transported to this new place and I'm just gonna kill everything here, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
I feel like storytelling and From Software is like live service games. I only have enough time like in my life for one like From Software storytelling. Like you don't give me 3 From Software like games where I've got to like piece everything together. There's not enough time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would want every game to do that, but I do really like FromSoft's way of doing it because I think they do it really, really well. Yeah, like all of the environmental storytelling is always fantastic. You find just a soldier's armor in a room and you're like, what the fudge is that doing there? So it makes me get more invested in it. And going through playing Elden Ring and the DLC and like reading all of the descriptions on items and putting stuff together is really fun.
Yeah. But like,
I think one of my favorite...
it could use just like a little like, here's why you're here.
Sure. I think one of my favorite games...
Last week on Dragon Ball.
One of my favorite games that's ever delivered, narrative, exposition and stuff in real time in the game to let you know more about the space you're in, like mid-fight, like you're in an encounter and it's delivering narrative to you, was actually a game called Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, which I adore that game. R.A. Salvatore, lore rich. But what they would do is, interact with these stones that you would find in key rooms and places. And it's like if you wanted to just forego the story and just beat stuff up in a mythical fantasy world, do it. But if you were interested in the story, you just activate the stone. You're going in and you're doing this whole fight sequence with bad guys. But in the background, they had recorded fully voice acted, but like with lutes in the background, like real fantasy style, just really calm, soothing music. And it's like a whole drama unfolding between voice actors in a scene It's giving you sort of the backstory of what happened here and who the major players were. I just thought it was a really creative way to deliver narrative, because you're like, it's almost like you're listening to a movie in the background with its own full soundtrack while you're just beating crap up. I loved it.
Nice. So we're talking a little bit about Elden Ring, or
Yeah, you're playing
Sure.
it again. What do you do? Are you starting with the base
So
game?
what are you doing?
Are you starting with the base game, or have you gotten it right into the DLC?
No, so I played Elden Ring on release. I think like 110 hours. It really enjoyed it. Passed it.
That's not how I remember
Didn't
it.
really. No. I
You did?
actually had a good time. Well, actually,
You did have
no.
a good time. You had moments of
There is,
bad times.
there is some funny stories with it, and my funny story that I usually like to relay to people is because I would kill NPCs just for the reaction from chat, because people take From Software games very seriously.
Yes, they do.
And when I got to Alexander the Jar Friend, I smashed that pot. I was like, because I could see chat was like, oh, best side quest.
Yeah, and now in the DLC, I'm like, Myelin, you should put that helmet on. And he's like, I don't have it. You can't get it if you kill Vare. So,
I'm
and he
definitely
did that 2
suffering from
seconds into
some
the
of those-
DLC.
some of those consequences. But I remember Watt saying this. Because I think Tomo was watching the
Mhm.
stream too, and Watt's like he's turned it off. He can't stand you killing the NPC so often.
Yeah, you
I had a good
traumatized him.
time. I had a pretty good time. I'll be honest. I will admit. So I started Erd Tree when that came out, and it was too hard for me. And maybe that's because I killed all the NPCs and didn't have the right equipment. That could have
Interesting.
been a contributing factor.
I'll say, Briar, do you know how many mixed physics like things you have that you can put in your mixed physics?
No, I have no idea.
Myelin has like 5.
Yeah.
Love me some good mixed physics.
I think I
I don't
have
even know
like
what you're talking about.
40.
I don't know what
Anyway,
you're talking about.
It's a good
40 sounds
representation.
right to me. Like a lot.
It's
Like,
a lot.
More
Yeah,
than
it's
I
like a
know
whole
right
page.
now. I'd have
It's
to
a
look
whole
at it.
page. Myelin brought up his page. It was a line. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Well, I
So-
mean, so this is the thing. Like, I played Elden Ring incredibly casually. I didn't like try to 100% or anything. Like, if I stumbled across something, I would do it, but I wasn't like determined to like get everything, collect everything. I was just there for the experience, and I would say pretty casual Elden Ring player, but I enjoyed the base game experience. So I super struggled with the DLC when it first came out, to the point of like rage quitting and uninstalling. I don't think it was a bad game. I think it was made for fans, and it was made for people who played a lot of the base game. And I did feel like I was suffering because I didn't have all the builds that I probably needed to make the game easier. And that doesn't make the game as bad. It was like, this was definitely a me thing. Then we obviously did the charity events, and if we got to 50,000, I said I'd play Erd Tree again because I deleted it. And they actually have patched the game a fair few times, right? And it is easier, and I'm actually having more fun again because I don't have to take it so seriously. So yeah, I've been playing Erd Tree again, and I'm enjoying it more. That they've made it easier.
Yeah. Every time a FromSoft game comes out, the conversation starts again about like, are these games too hard? Like, do they need like a casual mode to be more inclusive? Like, there's like the whole conversation starts over again, but then it dies down once people start playing it and getting into it and like kind of relearning or learning for the first time like how to play it and everything. I did hear that they did make it easier pretty substantially, right? It's like they gave you some items that kind of give you more power that you can get like really fast right at the beginning.
So
The things
what
you
they
collect, yeah.
what they did specifically with the Shadow Tree fragments is they made the early ones more impactful. So as you're getting into the game and you can find like 3 like levels right away. It should feel less punishing when you first get into the DLC, and then it starts to even out.
Yeah. I was one of
Which
those
I think is a great choice.
that tried to basically 100% that game. Like I didn't get the platinum trophy, but I got like just about all I wanted to. And I actually had forgotten. I was a little bit worried about going into Erdtree, how much of the base game I was going to have to play to get into it, because I did go into New Game Plus. But when I finally did sit down, okay, where am I at? It turned out that I had basically finished New Game Plus as well, so I was able to just jump right into the DLC, because you have to like get to a certain point in the base game to start playing the DLC. So I just jumped right into the DLC, and it was a little. At first, it was a little like, all right, what do the buttons do? Because it's been 2 years.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
like how do you use like, you know, your spirit ash, or, you know, like all sorts of stuff. But it took me probably 20 minutes, half an hour, because I did put 180 hours into the game. A crazy amount of time. And man, it's like just coming home, man. It is like being back at home. I don't understand that whole like the skidoo tree things, like how that affects, like how much that affects your power in the game. But I'm so
That is
powerful.
literally your level.
Dude, I am so powerful from just being so, like, having such a good build from like beating the game, that I am just romping through this place. Like, welcome home, guys. I'm back. And it is so fun.
I won't ask what boss you're at. What was the last area that had a main boss? So you have like Castle Ennis and
I think it started with a B. The guy had a lion head.
Okay, yeah.
So I played.
So that was the last. Was that okay?
Yeah, I played about 5 hours of the game so far.
Okay.
I think the other thing for me
That ain't
is like
nothing.
No, it's
I'm
not. Just
super-
get into it.
super stubborn with like play style, and I think in the base game you can kind of get away with just doing however you want to do, and
Yeah.
like that's sort of how I played it. And then I felt like in the DLC, like I don't know how many hours I spent on the first boss, and then I was like, stuff it. I'll use the summon, right, and then beat it like immediately. And like that's like it's fine, like to obviously use all the tools available, but I just kind of wanted, like, I'm so stubborn, and I wanted just to beat it by learning the moveset and rolling essentially, and that just wasn't like my skill set was not up to that
No,
level.
I gotta say, Myelin, I
welcome
respect
to the
that
world
your
of-
first run is a challenge run. I respect that for you.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I gotta
Way
introduce you to the world of jumping
Not rolling.
instead of rolling. Like, you actually get away with way more shit if you jump instead of roll half the time. Like,
Okay.
you're invincible for like more frames than rolling, so you can like jump over half the
Okay.
attacks, and it's like only your upper body can take any damage. Like, your whole bottom of your body is just completely invulnerable while you're jumping.
Okay. That's
hella
good
handy.
advice. Where you been with all the backseating's been happening in my chat?
I've been watching YouTube videos on how to play Elden Ring.
Myelin, your chat is unhelpful. I gotta say, one of the most unhelpful Elden Ring chats I've ever seen.
You leave them alone, okay?
They're so confident in their misinformation.
Mm.
Except the hams. Anyone who's in hams have good opinions and are
But
good gamers.
It is
Everyone
really
else
fun to be
sucks.
back, and like I was a little bit worried to come back because I was so addicted to it while it was out. I mean, I literally just devoted a month of my life to it, like nonstop, and I could feel it pulling me already. Like, I only played like 5 hours of it, like a couple hours last night and a few hours today, and I'm like, oh, this could just be a 16-hour a day thing for me, no problem.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think multiple days when I was streaming it, I was like, this may be one of the happiest I've ever been in my life.
yeah,
It was great. Woke up every day to pure happiness. What a great time.
Happiness.
That's why I'm stretching
So,
it
Fran,
out.
we need to get, when are you playing Elden Ring so
Stretch
we
it
can
out.
get Tefty on here?
You're
we can talk
probably gonna
about
have to
Elden
get him on beforehand, because I'll be doing some traveling. So I don't think I'm gonna be hitting Elden Ring till September. Honestly, it's gonna be tricky with everything else, but it'll happen.
It's not
Watts does
happening,
not
guys.
like this
Mark
answer. She's
my
not-
words,
she's not feeling-
Fran
Yes,
is
it
not going to
100%.
play the... It's not
No.
going to happen.
It is
I
one of
guarantee you it's not happening.
no,
Do you know-
no.
do you
It
know what
came
we
out
should
in
have made?
June.
Okay, write this down. Write this
You
down for
clearly
next
don't
year
like it
charity.
that much.
That's
Next
It's
a
year
only
lot.
charity
August 1st.
incentive.
It's been a month and a half. It's 17
Man, you see
years.
the
It's
attitude?
Yeah, and he's saying he's going to play it in September? You couldn't keep me from a
What do you
game
want me to
that
do?
I like.
If I'm gonna play it, gonna play it right. Wait, Myelin, what were you saying?
Okay, next year, charity incentive. The top incentive is for Watts to direct Fran's stream schedule.
Pretty good.
Watts says,
That's a pretty good one.
week.
Elden Ring's
She
coming
programs
out,
it
you're playing it.
when I'm
Like,
playing
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
What I'm playing, when I'm playing.
I bet the
that's-
stream will go well. I bet you.
That's
We
like
gotta go
$100,000
for
I bet your numbers will
incentive.
be nuts.
That's like $100,000 incentive.
Do we have any
Wait,
incentives
wait.
coming up? Are there any more kind of scheduled yet?
I mean, we have a
Oh.
number to do, but
Yeah, I need to organize Dungeons and Dragons. I've started the
Oh, yeah.
conversations. We keen for it to still be Destiny themed. I just wanted to check in with everyone. Like, do you want a standard Dungeons and Dragons, or do we still want to keep the Destiny skin on where we're Titans and Hunters and doing a raid or a strike or whatever?
I think Destiny was fun.
Yeah.
I'm happy to
Yep.
do anything.
Okay.
I need to talk to Fran about our Monster Hunter backseating.
Oh yeah.
Watts is gonna seat my first Monster Hunter
I can't wait. for that.
world.
Oh
staying
yeah,
up
you
late for
got to
that
do
one.
your scary underwater game, don't you, Watts?
Yeah, I
When?
think so. I'd have to look at the schedule, but we'll have another show before I do it. So I'll
Okay.
double check. I was gonna do it next week, but now I'm not sure if I'll be able to. So maybe the week after that, like the week of the 12th, around then.
I'm still laughing how you went off of me. Twitter DMs.
I did. I yelled at Myelin.
Yes, you did.
Everyone saw it, and everyone saw it because I put it in the DCP chat.
And I know what started this because I started the Elden Ring and I immediately started complaining.
did.
What's better finish the stupid phobic game, whatever she doesn't like, because I'm literally committing 60 hours to doing all of Elden Ring on a big rant. When I got off stream, it was just
A
all
wall of-
caps.
Yeah, I
Marlon,
was
you
saying-
idiot! You're the one who set the stream incentives.
Yeah, Mylin's like, guys, I'm gonna finish the Elden Ring DLC, and then he's here. I can't believe I have to finish the Elden Ring DLC.
Should we do some
Oh,
Twitter
mate, you
questions?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Probably
let's
good.
do it.
Good
Probably
transition.
All right. Let's start.
Questions from social.
Nathan says, "Do you feel this is the takeover that was leaked a while back? There are now reports saying Sony is taking office space at Bungie."
So the Office Space thing, I wouldn't read too much into it because they made like they
Yeah,
bought.
they
They spent a lot of money making a brand new office, and a lot of people at Bungie work remotely. So if there's a ton of space in an office building that they didn't really need, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, let's have, some studios move in there and actually use the space.
Yeah.
But the other part, I don't know about the Sony takeover.
Yeah. I mean, it is suspicious based on
Well-
what they said last time.
Yeah, and per our earlier notes, right? Got to check our sources. I recall that kind of just floating out there. I don't recall it really being verified
Oh,
and
really?
sourced at. I don't recall being like these, but I could be wrong. But again, make sure to get those details right if we're going to be getting into it. But
I like to fly with
look,
this.
it's
I just
we've had
make shit
enough.
up.
Yeah, doom
Facts.
scrolling over their situation today. I'm just reminding and let's let that rest for a while before we get on to like.
Well, what do you have?
even more
18
rumors.
years experience at IGN or something?
Meaning, as an example, when I quoted Stephen Totillo there, he had several sources that were ex-Bungie, and so that's
Totillo?
really good context for his information. And I don't think there was any information about Sony takeover stuff, but certainly that they weren't totally happy with where they're at.
Oh no.
The Force says, "Now what?"
Well, that's
What?
the thing.
Wait,
Yeah, people.
That's a good question.
We really, I know that obviously the vibes are not going to be great over at Bungie right now, and maybe the last thing they're thinking of is telling the community what's going on. But I really think they need to soon just come and address the community. Like, here's what's
Yeah.
going on with Destiny. I know that they've said in this article that like the things that they currently have are still planned to go ahead, but even with that, knowing that, we were still like, is there going to be a big expansion? Or are there going to be more raids? Like, this is a question that people had before all of this. So
Yeah.
I think they need to answer those.
Yeah, I mean, a basic roadmap we've always responded really well to. It doesn't have to be telling us all about the future. It could just literally lay out, like, we don't know when the new dungeons are coming. Maybe you wanted that to be a surprise. Maybe it's better now just to kind of tell us, like, hey, look forward to this. You know?
Yeah, tell us what's going on.
Game Addiction 25 says, what is your favorite topping on pizza? And I'm not reading the back half of that. Game Addiction 25, you think you're so fucking smart.
Speaking of which,
Ooh, some
remember
barbecue?
everybody, you can send your favorite DCP clips over to Lego or the DCP
that's
social
right.
channels because Lego is putting together a blooper reel and he wants to do something special for Briar.
Yeah, great. I'm sure it'll be
Mark that time
hilarious.
code and clip it. That's what we're saying.
Yep, got a time code,
are
send
we
it over. All your
Answering the
favorite
first part of that, because I got a banger.
Yeah, what is it?
moments. Okay, yeah.
Lay it on us.
You're
Definitely
Italian.
sausage, and from Chicago area.
Sausage is
Sausage, mushroom, and giardiniera.
Okay.
And if I can, I like a
what?
little sauce on the side. Giardiniera, it's like pickled carrot, pepper, garlic, in oil.
Okay.
That sounds
It's like an
delicious.
I do
Italian.
like garlic.
So is there sauce on the pizza or just sauce on the side for dipping?
No, there's pizza's like normal. I'm saying I also
Okay.
like
a
sometimes
little
have a little
extra
sauce
sauce.
on the side, just for the crust. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. You go.
You know what? There's a place near us that's done this great. Like they do their own braised beef in house, and they started doing a braised beef pizza with fried jalapeno slices on top.
Ooh.
And it's like this good salty batter around a fried jalapeno that has a good kick. Oh my gosh, dude! I was like, oh man, cover that pizza in those jalapenos.
That sounds awesome. My go-to is often like Kalamata olives and sausage.
Mhm.
But we got a new pizza place in town, and they do this fun thing where if you order a pizza there, they also do slices, and he gives you like a free slice on a paper plate, like it's kind of like a freebie, but he chooses what he's gonna give you. So it's you never know what you're gonna get, right? Which is fun.
Omakase pizza. Nice.
That's
One
cool.
I like
time
that.
he made me a Philly cheesesteak pizza, which I thought
yeah.
that sounds
I've had
disgusting.
something like that, yeah.
That's just
What?
cheese whiz and cheap beef on pizza. But it was delicious. It was really good. I don't know that I could eat a whole pizza because it was thick and heavy,
Yeah.
but it was good.
Yeah. I've had one of those somewhere, probably not as good as the one you're describing, but it was good, man.
You know what I like on pizzas? Not all the time, but every now and then. Pine nuts. You ever had pine nuts on a pizza?
No, I've never
Yeah.
had that.
A little pesto
Yeah,
That
style.
sounds good.
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
like a pesto chicken pizza with some pine nuts. Yeah. that's
Yeah, I
pretty
could
good.
see that.
Like the white pie with
Um,
clams on it sometimes.
I have not had that. I've definitely heard of that. No, there's like
Pretty good.
seafood pizzas I've had, I think, but not that. That one I've heard of. Sounds good.
Not bad.
Just goes to show you can make pizza with anything.
You can.
Could
Pretty
be
much.
barbecue.
Anything on a pizza.
My local pizza place like went up in my books because I was waiting for like my pizza, and two Uber Eats drivers came along, and they didn't have like a bag to keep it warm. They just had like a carry bag or whatever, and like the Italian guy's like, no, you're not getting it because they're gonna get cold by the time you get there, and then they're gonna refund it. And they're like, no, this
Solid.
lady's like trying to pay him, and he just like rips the bag off. It's like, no, go pizza, puts it back in the oven. It's like, cancel the order or go get like a bag to keep it warm. I'm
That's
like,
like a
amazing.
thermal bag.
okay.
Yeah.
He's like, you better respect my food. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
this,
just gonna hand
this
it.
technology's been around
Yeah.
since
And
the
he did it
80s.
I love that.
twice.
That's
We're gonna
great.
deliver
He
food,
did it
keep
I
it
was-
warm.
Yeah, I was standing there for 5 minutes and it happened twice. This Italian dude's just fucking losing his mind at Uber Eats people.
Good on him. Have some integrity
Yeah,
for your
I thought,
product, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
I
like
love
it.
it. What's
Yeah.
the current podcast feeling on pineapple pizza? I know,
Oh, I love pineapple.
yeah, me and
You already
Ross
know.
are
I
known
won't eat
pineapple lovers.
pizza without pineapple. You gotta put pineapple on.
Wow.
It bothers me because of what we just illustrated. How many awesome pizza options are there? And some you have never had. And
Yeah.
you get some jackass that the only two things they order is either I'm gonna have pepperoni and cheese, nothing wrong with it,
Yeah.
or they're like, I'm gonna be the pineapple pizza guy, and there's nothing in between, and it really bothers me.
Wait, what are you
Diversify.
saying? Are you for or against?
Saying
I couldn't even lock
He's
you down
calling you
there.
basic.
I'm saying it's okay if you can demonstrate that it's one of the many options on the tapestry that
Oh,
is
but
all
like
the
if
pizza
you're
options out
if
there.
my favorite pizza is a pineapple pizza and that's always what I order, you don't like
Yeah,
me?
that's a problem.
I'm not good enough in
No.
your book.
It's silly that you like why like we've illustrated why that would never be the most favorite choice. There's no good reason
Fran,
for
It's
it.
so delicious though.
He
You
doesn't
get
like
some-
salty
I'm not
and
against
sweet,
it.
gamers.
Do you hate
He
all
doesn't
Hawaiians?
I
Is
like-
that what
salty
it
and
is?
Sweet. He doesn't understand it.
I never said I didn't
Fran-
like it.
Fran, you get some variety in your
pepperoni.
stream schedule, and I'll get some variety in my pizzas. Deal?
Wow, dude. Wow, this guy really coming at me. I mean, what I'm hearing is Myelin really like, because he's live normally or finishing his stream when I'm streaming, so he can't watch. So I'm hearing now he's like, I really want to catch an FM3 stream
Mhm,
on Twitch.
mhm,
All right, that sounds good.
mhm.
That's for you.
I have your address from the Secret Santa and I'm sending you a pineapple pizza.
I told you, I like it. I will eat it. I'm just saying, don't be that person. It's unoriginal.
Blandy McBlanderson says, how
Shout
long
outs to
is
Blandy.
too long
Woo.
for an afternoon nap? Dude, I think
Mm.
too long,
Oh.
40 minutes. You have overdone your
I've
nap.
tested this.
That's what I was going to say. No
Yeah.
longer than
Half
the
an,
40.
30 minutes. 30
30
minutes.
minutes is perfect. 20
I was
minutes, I
gonna
think
say
it's the
3
best.
hours. You're pushing it.
3 hours.
Oh my
that's
God.
that's not a nap. That's full on
That's a nap?
sleep. Like you're waking up and you gotta
No,
you gotta get eye
that's a nap.
boogers out and you got like drool on the side of your face. That's
Yeah,
no
you gotta
good.
like recalibrate
Dude,
everything
Yeah.
after
If
that.
I can't sleep for at least like an hour and a half, there's literally no point.
That's too much. 20 minutes, nice
It doesn't-
refreshing nap.
It's
20
gonna
minutes.
take me 50 minutes to fall
Well,
asleep.
Yeah, it depends
Yeah.
how quickly you fall asleep. Like I can fall asleep immediately, so I
Yeah.
can put a timer on for
Man.
like 35 minutes, and I'll probably get 30 minutes sleep.
So I'm not a
Like,
habitual napper. The only time I'll take a nap is when I'm so tired that I feel like I need one. And it's
Yeah.
almost involuntary. Like I have to I lay down and just like pass out. But if I do it for more than 45 minutes, I swear to God, it's like day is
Groggy.
ruined. I'm
Yeah.
groggy. I'm
yeah,
not.
you're in a funk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing good is happening after that.
Yeah,
You know?
you don't want to mess up your brain waves. Yeah, I was gonna say there's definitely some talk of like 20-minute increments for your naps. I haven't totally looked into that, but I think that's where a lot of that 40-minute, maybe a little more than 20 minutes comes from. But yeah, I think after that you're in trouble. And a last pro tip for you: if you are like you, Myelin, which you can fall asleep fast, or just you're really dog tired, take what's called an espresso nap. You get ready, you get settled in.
Oh, I like this.
Take that espresso and you like, because by the time the espresso kicks in, you're waking
You're
back
waking
up
up.
anyway.
Espresso
That's
makes me sleepy,
perfect.
so
It
that's a
jumps
good
right
idea to
in.
go to sleep.
Watts has the reverse. Yeah, that'll put her out for 4 hours.
Take what I call
It
a
makes me
pot
sleepy.
cookie nap. You eat the pot cookie, you take a nap right when you wake up.
Briar, you're
That
missing
made
the
me-
point. I'm not saying, oh yeah, this isn't about like eating a plate of linguine before you take a nap. You get that caffeine, you know what I mean?
You know, when I used to go to my nonna's, she used to have these like little mattresses you put on the floor, and as a kid, you eat a big bite of pasta, and then you just go have a nap on the floor. It was the
That
best
should
thing
come with
ever.
every pound of pasta. It's like a napping mat.
Food coma nap is
It
different.
was a napping mat, yeah.
You finish your pasta, go get your mat.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like the accent. It was nice. Finish your pasta. Oh man. Good
Skyrim
question.
says the last food
Really good
restaurant you
question.
ate at is the only food you can eat for a year. I'm sorry, the last fast food restaurant you ate is the only food you can eat for a year. What is the
Is
restaurant?
that just any takeaway, or is it strictly fast food? Because
I
fast
think
food
it says fast
McDonald's
food.
and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna die.
I think that's Culver's for me, so I think I'm okay.
What's Culver's? I'm not familiar.
Oh, I think it was Shake Shack. I think Shake Shack was my
Never
last
had,
one.
don't have Culver's where you're at? It's
No.
like
I know Culver's.
imagine,
Heck yeah.
imagine if Steak and Shake was like, yo, what if we were way better than we are?
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, they do steak burgers.
It's the
but they
ice
also
cream that's
do,
their signature, right?
Well, I mean, some people really like their custards, but I'm more about.
But don't you think that's the
they have really
signature?
good fried fish here in Michigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, their fish is real good.
I haven't had them in a while.
Fish and chips, baby.
Because I'm in San Francisco, I honestly, unless I'm traveling, like even then, I rarely get fast food these days.
Same.
So I don't even remember. I feel like I was in
I
Vegas
honestly can't remember.
and got like Subway or McDonald's, like regrettably, you know, like at like 1 in the morning.
Subway has gone wildly downhill.
Really?
Oh
I
my
hope
God.
that's not what
I
I'm stuck
agree.
with.
Like
In
wildly.
other countries, it's great, which is actually the case with every single fast food place.
Do you guys
Yes.
remember back in the day when Fran's boy Jared used to advertise and
What?
Frick. You still got him on speed dial,
What
don't
was
you?
that supposed to mean? I definitely
they had
never knew who that.
$5 footlongs? Do you guys remember $5
Oh,
footlongs?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that was like a cheap way to eat. And now it's like you go in there, it's like $10 and the food is worse than ever.
Yeah.
I had Chipotle for lunch today. Is
Okay.
Chipotle fast food? Does that qualify?
Oh yeah, if that
Yeah.
qualifies, I guess
Yeah.
then it would be Chipotle.
That's gonna be
I had that before
a
going to the
gassy
movies.
year for me then.
Might die.
You could
I may
skip on the
not survive
beans,
it.
dude. I'm pretty sure.
How
See how
dare
many
you?
outbreaks you can collect in that year.
If I was to like get my wish on it though, it probably would be Wendy's. Actually, I'm a huge spicy chicken fillet fan at Wendy's.
Yeah.
Big fan. Oh
That
yeah.
is my go-to at Wendy's as well, the spicy chicken. And their Frosties aren't bad.
Yeah.
You know, considering they're
Totally,
not dairy
totally
products.
fine. Briar, do you support the dipping of the fries in the Frosty?
Oh, fully support. Fully
Oh,
support.
yeah.
On board.
Good man.
Yeah.
I knew I liked you.
Well, I believe in agency. You know, you like what you like. If you want to dip
Mm.
your fries in your
Non-judgmental.
Frosties, you freaking do it. The only wrong way to eat your food is the way you don't enjoy it.
Mm.
Or if you always
Wise
get a
words.
pineapple pizza over and over and over again. It's definitely wrong, and I'm
Or
gonna
what
die
if
on
we
that
just
hill.
keep playing Horizon over and over and
Oh,
over again? When
wow,
Elden
okay.
Ring's right there. Lies of P, he didn't play that either.
We'll
Fran
talk about it
hates
on another episode.
Souls-likes.
I did play Lies of P. I just didn't beat it. I put in like 10 hours.
10
By the way, we'll talk
Next.
about it in the future, but I beat Burning Shores DLC on PC, and the ending was like, I won't spoil, wowzer, from a technical gameplay. So holy
Really?
crap. Wow, I was like, this is so cool. Go play
Somebody
it. if you
make note as this next year's charity incentive. Fran eats pineapple pizza whilst being directed
Every
by
day
bots.
for a year.
haven't. I think it's just evolving.
Yeah.
You got a whole year to sort this nightmare for me out.
I like it.
Hey Blaze says, did Destiny 2 die a hero or did it live long enough to see itself become the villain? Look, if you're enjoying Destiny 2, I don't see why this news should make you like somehow change your feeling about the game itself or the people who made the game. Really, I mean, you can be angry with the CEO or the leadership that got Bungie into this problem, but don't forget, like, the people who got laid off put a lot of hard work into this game. You know, like, you're still enjoying the fruits of their labor, and there's still plenty of good people still working on this game. You know?
I think the best thing for anything like this is like just vote with your time. Not money, but time. If you like a game, play it. If you don't like the game, stop playing it. I think that's applies for all games, Destiny
Yeah.
or anything else, because
Mm-hmm.
that's I think it's the best thing to do. Vote with your time.
Yeah, the game's neither hero nor villain. It's just quite simply you're a consumer, and if the product vibes with you, it vibes with you. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's
And
no pressure either way.
let's just also put the elephant in the room out there. Like, how many years do we have to hear, is Destiny dead? You know, it's been
Oh,
like
is it?
half a decade of that. And I
Yeah.
understand
Been a
that the
full
Final Shape
decade.
honeymoon's over, but look, it's okay to play other games, and I think the episodic model is meant to be a little. They've even said dive in, dive out a little more. But to Briar's point earlier, and others, like, we want a lot more. That's a good problem to have, as fans to be excited for Destiny as a franchise. But anyway, yeah, I'm not a fan in general of like Destiny's dead when like it's still a huge game.
They still have
Title of
850
the video
people
is
working at
Destiny
Bungie.
dead.
And
That's
and
a
yeah,
very
like-
large studio.
yeah, and like again, I know people are mad at Bungie, but there's a ton of people that work there that their morale is at the bottom right now. And like saying this game is dead, if you do like the game and want to see its future, like don't be focused on that. That's all I'm saying.
Before we move to the next question, everyone's talking about Jeff Grubb and his information. So I just wanted to read something that he put out 9 minutes ago. He said, and this was in relation to Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy not being at the studio anymore. He said, I said this happened as part of the layoffs, but it's probably more accurate to say that they left due to leadership restructuring. It's all related, but they were not laid off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
does
mean,
that
maybe they
mean?
saved some jobs. Well, look, one option could
be
be
what I
that
said
they had
earlier.
Yeah.
massive payouts. They had teams that were being impacted. I've seen that happen, and people leave to soften that blow, like kind of like people are calling for at the top. It could be that type of thing, right?
So
It's
I
more
don't
like
know.
a resignation then, yeah? More like a, okay,
Yeah.
we see what you're doing, understand, I think we're going to take our leave, right?
Could be, yeah.
I don't remember what Luke's position was like most recently, but if he's like the director of the Destiny universe, for example, and he was working on getting a Destiny TV show or something like that, and then, this other game that was rumored to be not Destiny 3, but they were calling it the next Destiny, whatever that means, then if they're not doing any of that anymore, then and they don't have a position to put Luke into, then he can't be there anymore, right? So maybe it's just that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's complicated, but I think it's
It
fair.
seems
Like
complicated.
it's good that Grubb put it out there because, like, either way, everybody's bummed about it, and whether it's a layoff, and a layoff is different than a firing for those not familiar as well. People get very confused. They're like, "Oh, they got fired." It's like, no, that is completely different to like your budget just got cut. Like, there's nothing else. Doesn't mean they were.
Yeah.
That actually, I've always reminded during the last Bungie layoffs or some other set. Like, remember, it's not that any of these people were poor performers. And that's where
Right.
like saying we kept the
Yeah,
right
true.
people, like it's meant to inspire, but
Yeah.
then like that doesn't like it's just we don't have the budget and it's gotten torn apart, right? So that's good he clarified.
Grimlock says, do you guys ever lay down not intending to fall asleep, only to wake up at 3 a.m. completely discombobulated, thirsty, hungry, and with cat hairs in your mouth? That last one might be a tad specific, but I have a long-haired cat and his fur gets everywhere. Yeah.
Occasionally, not often. Occasionally.
No, I got gremlins. They don't let you sleep during the day or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
I don't usually. I can't sleep that easily, unfortunately. I wish I could.
This will happen to me once every couple of years or so, and it actually doesn't happen. It more so happens like I'll wake up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and be like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't know. Like, why is it light outside? I have no idea. What is it, morning? Is it afternoon? What is going on?
I used to have naps that I didn't take our previous advice that turned into that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But that was when I was not getting nearly enough sleep.
Yeah.
Thankfully, mostly solved that.
This is just my wife's sleep schedule, honestly. This is how she goes. Falls asleep whenever at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. Wakes up at 3.
What? Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
She's
like
an insane
old school,
person.
when they used to get up because the sun was coming up and you had to go like work outside.
Work
Farmer
the land.
vibes.
Modern day, not so much. You just, why aren't you watching Netflix till 1 a.m. like everybody else? Or scrolling, doom scrolling TikTok, Come on, get with the program.
I can always tell when my wife has fallen asleep at night because she goes to bed before me. But she's always scrolling through Instagram at night. So my phone's just blowing up. Bleep, bleep, here, this is funny, this is funny, this is funny, this is funny. Then silence, just a hard cutoff. And I'll go up there and she'll have her phone like on it.
That's great. I love that.
Been there.
Rich says, no question, just want to shout out the awesome people at Bungie that either lost their jobs or lost their coworkers. You guys kick ass with Final Shape, and it sucks seeing this happen. Agreed, Risk.
Respect.
Big agree.
Great note.
V4V's best cheerleader says, I'm moving to PC later this year. Any tips for a complete newbie? I want to go pre-built and have a 2K budget for everything I need. Monitor, mouse and keyboard, PC itself. Love the show. Thanks, y'all.
It's a tall order.
It's a tough budget.
You
I was like
can do it.
2,000 for just the PC. I was like, that should actually be pretty fine.
That's great. But once you add in monitor,
With
mouse,
everything.
and keyboard,
The accessories, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Monitor
I would
stuff.
go cheap on the accessories and try and get as much of that 2K budget into the PC itself, and then later
Oh, yeah.
on try and upgrade the monitor, the mouse and keyboard, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Mouse and
It's
keyboard will
always
probably
easy to
come with a
swap those
PC unless you build it yourself.
Yeah, I
you
was
said
gonna say
pre-built,
because
yeah.
it really depends on your goals, right? I would definitely think if frame rates matter, like because the monitor, you definitely want to think about if it's 120 hertz or 144, and then you kind of start because once you know your monitor, what it's going to be, you kind of can work backwards from that. So I would do that, but do not sleep on open box clearance, especially like with any major chain that like will they'll guarantee, like Best Buy or Amazon, I believe does this.
Yeah.
You can get like $300 off that stuff. Do that. Don't waste money on the newest of the new. That'll help with a budget like that a lot.
For sure.
But
spend your money
Another thing is like
on graphics card and processor. Don't worry about motherboards. Don't worry about basically anything else in that computer. Two things you're most concerned about. You can add RAM to it later. Like get the best processor and the best graphics card you can. And then once you're on the PC, you can continue playing with the controller. You're just gonna get better frame rates. And if you want to switch over to mouse and keyboard, I mean, some people like it better, some people don't. Destiny's a funny thing. A lot of people prefer.
But yeah, I was gonna say that the money goes fast. So if you are tech oriented at all, if you have the time, I wouldn't shy away from building it. You might be surprised.
If you can find a friend who can help you build it, like,
and they love
you will be able to get better parts.
People who like building PCs will gladly help you.
Yeah, just go live on Twitch, and people will backseat call you, and if they'll offer to like video call you to help you, probably. Like seriously, people love helping. But
I built my PC on Twitch, and I dropped the CPU and almost bent the pins on it.
No, really? Yeah, I have to say I built mine.
Chat. It was hilarious.
I built mine again after many years, and like other than the time, making sure you're doing stuff right, the research, and if you can afford that, honestly, I was like, this is fun. I'm ready to build another. It's pretty cool.
There's nothing better feeling than actually building a PC, to be honest, and booting it up. Like, it's a pretty good feeling.
It's not as bad as it seems. It's just literally like you've never, say, put a
It's
liquid
really expensive Lego. Like
cooler.
Really expensive Lego.
But like it's not gonna go wrong as easily as you think. You just
it's pretty simple.
Don't drop stuff. Actually, it's probably the only thing that you have to worry about ultimately. Anyway.
Yeah, watch Henry Cavill's guide. Nailed it.
Yes.
What was the Verge? Was it the Verge?
Oh God.
Do you remember that guy that got crucified because he
got
basically said everything
rightly
wrong?
so, honestly, because he had no business telling anybody how to build a computer. That was ridiculous.
That is just the internet in general. Don't trust it.
Last question of the night. Bat Tat says, with Destiny on its deathbed, which live service game will you guys cover next? Avengers, The Division, Anthem. Welcome to the
as long as it's not
ACP, the Anthem Community Podcast.
We are playing Once Human. That is a live service.
Yeah. Yeah. What is
TV's doing First Ascendant?
A little bit. Yeah, I've actually been playing a lot more of just like small studio survival games lately when I'm not playing Destiny. Like 7 Days to Die, they had their full release.
At the 1.0 release.
Yeah. And
yay or nay?
We love it. It's not technically, some gorgeous masterpiece. It's just fun. Yeah, we all have our own roles. One of us is the cook. It's literally as we're scavenging, all the meal prep stuff goes to them, and they run a whole kitchen in our base. And then we got a couple of guys that are architects. They build the holdout base and reinforce it. So we all have our own roles that we fall into, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, do we know, like, putting aside the obvious big, Warzone type things, and what is the next live service game that would be like, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know that this year there are. 6? That won't be. No, that doesn't count. That's just Grand Theft Auto.
It's its own category.
I mean, I think we're probably in there
We'll look
already
into
with Once Human and First Ascendant. They're probably the big
Yeah, I
ones.
was
They're
like-
both doing quite well.
after. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, Helldivers 2
Diablo.
how's Helldivers 2 doing?
It has a new-
Great.
picked
new
back
DLC
up
next week.
again. Yeah, they've like done a couple of things. I haven't really been keeping up to date with it, but it's still ticking along.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't-
guess.
I don't know anyone's still playing it.
Oh, I mean, there's people still play. It's just that it
Well,
was so
I
big.
don't doubt that people are, but all the people that
Yeah.
I knew who were really into it are no longer playing it.
I think the DLC next week will bring a small spike back because it is a little more packaged as opposed to. It looked at a glance to me, it looked like there was a bit more going on. In other words, and that was part of what they were talking about for a while. They were releasing stuff so fast, and people wanted them to slow down. And I think this is some of the fruition of that. But
I kind of feel like
Marvel
I
Rivals
accidentally
is doing
fell
it.
into a live service game with Destiny. I didn't really know what it was
Yeah.
when I was getting into it. I didn't understand like the dangers.
same.
And
It-
now that I know, I'm gonna be much more careful.
There's no warning on the label.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I mean, it's funny because at first, like, although Diablo 4 is live servicey, it's not
Mhm.
quite as live servicey as some. But yeah, Spiritborn, the sequel expansion is around the corner. I'll be curious to see. That was a huge game, remember? That might be one if people are really into it to kind of draw some attention.
I can't believe Ubisoft hasn't made a live service out of Assassin's Creed yet. Like it just seems like it's so ripe for it.
That just sounds annoying
Well,
to me.
I
Or Far Cry, you know, like
saw I saw some commentary on Assassin's Creed, and it's apparently like one of the most like successful franchises of all time, like with
Yeah.
sales. Like I didn't realize. I know it was popular, but I didn't think it was like up there with bazillion dollars. It's. I mean, why would they bother if they can just keep pumping them out? Like Call
Fair.
of Duty, you know.
I'm looking forward to playing the next one, honestly. All right. Should we wrap this one up?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
About
Yes.
that time.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for
Mm.
joining us. We'll see
Oh,
you
you know
next
what I'll
week.
say? Don't read everything you would read on the internet. You know, there's a lot going on at the moment. This is clearly a very complicated time for Bungie and everything that's happening. So if you see an article or just like a headline on a tweet or something or a YouTube video, you can, of
Check
course,
your
listen to it
sources.
and take it in and be like, okay, don't like that. Let's see what's going on. But don't immediately jump to spreading it like wildfire because that's what happened earlier today. And it was completely incorrect information. So give everything, check their sources, see where they're getting their information, and try and retweet any Bungie devs you see who are ex-Bungie devs. Who are
That
looking
seems
for
like
work.
good advice for all news, frankly.
Yes.
Sure.
And as someone
Yes.
who's written a lot of news and done
Yes.
that side of it, remember a source is not a website link that sounds familiar to you. That's not a source.
No.
It's, oh, they have 2 ex-Bungie employees that commented on it. That's a source. It's not just a website.
Right.
Because that happens to me. They're like, I heard it on Reddit. I'm like, that's not a source. Anyway.
Yeah.
The source
Sources
of my
are-
information. What are you
How
talking about?
close is your source? That's the game, by the way. This is the game people play. If somebody's got sources within a company,
He's
that's a
just as
huge-
elitist about sources as he is pineapple on pizza.
yeah, it's true.
Unbelievable. Rough.
It's true.
Rough out there.
Shocker.
Be smart.
Copy that.
Thank y'all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.